The average U.S. senator at 65 years old is too old to be an airline pilot and hold a host of other jobs. We could look at the Capitol. It's Thursday. Most of the time, senators and congressmen are gone by now. At current count, at least 4 U.S. senators are out sick. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell recovering from a concussion. Freshman Senator John Fetterman has spent a number of weeks at Walter Reed Hospital for inpatient treatment of depression. We don't know when he's going to come back. Dianne Feinstein at 89 has shingles. She'll be out for a few more weeks. Dick Durbin recovering from COVID. The last time 100 senators reported for duty, according to Politico, who keeps track of these things, was more than 6 months ago. Shermichael Singleton is here, political consultant who helped run campaign operations for Senator Mitt Romney's presidential campaign. It's good to see you. You know, look,
hey, Leland,
it's easy to say, look, they're not doing the people's business. We shouldn't pay them. If you can't show up for work, you're fired. I got to thinking, though, that maybe Congress not getting anything done is actually kind of good for the country.
I don't know if I would agree with that, Leland. I think it's kind of bad for the country. Look, I think it's important that we honor our elders, our seniors. There is much to be gained from age. Age typically means more experience, and more experience typically means you have wisdom. But I do think when you think about Nancy Pelosi, you think about Chuck Schumer, you think about Mitch McConnell, the minority leader, you think about our very own president, Joe Biden. Every generation at some point has to recognize that their standards, even many of their ideals about the way culture and society should be ran, at some point may indeed be displaced by the generation to come behind. And so you look to the future. Hakeem Jeffries, the Speaker of the House. You think about Senator Tim Scott. You think about AOC, who I have some disagreements with politically, but she's the future. You think about Lauren Underwood, the Congresswoman out of Illinois. You need to have the seniors, the more experienced legislators, mentor and groom the next generation in order to lead.
Yeah, well, the problem is that, you know, you groom them too well and you mentor them too well, then they come and take your job, which is something that in Washington they don't like to have happen. Professions with mandatory retirement ages, pilots, air traffic controllers, foreign service employees, federal law enforcement officers, almost all of those are age limits put in place either by Congress or by those agencies which are regulated by Congress. Of course, Congress refuses to put any age restrictions on themselves. I think about this, that the two things the founders never considered was an age limit, which we would need a constitutional amendment for, or a term limit, which we would need a constitutional amendment for, because back then, that wasn't something that was even considered.
Yeah, well, you got to keep in mind that the life expectancy then was very different. But number one, they didn't, I don't think necessarily expected people to stay in Congress for 40 or 50 years, Leland. Many of them had other jobs. They were entrepreneurs. They were business owners. And then I think number two, the term limits are supposed to be elections. At once upon a time, we had a significant number or percent of Americans that were actively engaged in the electoral process. Even when Alexis de Tocqueville visited the United States in the 1700s, he was blown away by how even the most educated person to the least educated person was aware of the democratic process. That's not necessarily the case today. And I think you hear a lot of our seniors say, oh, well, this generation, they're so out of touch. They don't get it. They want everything to be handed to them. Well, Leland, when you don't allow a generation to have failure, to make mistakes, that is going to happen. So I do think we need to change this expectation of being able to sit in office for 30 or 40 years. It's just far too long.
Hey, I got to hand it to you, okay? You've got de Tocqueville in on this conversation, and the greatest background I think I have ever seen on this show so far. It is good to see you. It's been a long time. Looking forward to having you back.
Thanks, Leland. See you soon, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.